Hi, I'm Romi.
And I'm Nicole. Welcome to the Her Pursuit Pod, where we share our journey of building our business, The Daily Drip, a dynamic media platform that provides content and community for more than 4,000 South Florida female CEOs, founders, business owners, executives, and professionals.
Whether it's through our newsletter, events, or this podcast, our hope is to inspire your next big move and arm you with the tools you need to crush it. So tune in on your drive to work, wind down with us after a long day as we share our journey and the journeys of other remarkable business leaders on Her Pursuit. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Her Pursuit podcast. I'm Romi Wallach, co-founder of The Daily Drip, and I'm joined today by Melia Archie and LaFrance. And I'm very excited because we're going to get some really good sort of dynamic on this conversation. But we're going to start with the fact that Lisa is sitting here with her microphone. And if you're listening, you might have to jump on to like a visual. But she's carrying and holding her own microphone that's super bomb. And can you explain why we're carrying this?
So I think the part you want to describe to the audience is also how glittery it is, and it's purple. And I actually have this in every color, so I can coordinate with my outfit. You see I'm wearing purple, so I have purple. But the reason I've started carrying a mic around is because for a very long time I didn't feel like I had a voice. And now, I don't know, it just feels very empowering to be able to speak into this and really speak my truth.
Love that, because that's like literally why we even created the Daily Drip, was how do we amplify voices? And to be perfectly honest, it shocks me to my core that your voice wasn't louder from the beginning, because you have done amazing things in your career, in your life, and the advocacy you have for philanthropy. You need more than just a microphone. You need a megaphone.
And I'm giving everybody microphones because really one of the things that is very important to me in the world of philanthropy is bringing people together and having people contribute and help the community together as a group. So I'm handing out microphones to people. The other fun thing about the microphone is that you can do that.
Oh my God. And we anticipate many mic drop moments today. I mean, you're going to be dropping bombs. I know it. I'm ready for it. So we're talking a lot today about self-awareness and how that has, through transitions in life. And we were, our most recent podcast episode was actually with Nicole, my co-founder, my partner in crime, talking about the surprise, the pregnancy, and the beautiful joy that it is, but also what it was going to require of her from a business standpoint for her family and, how she was going to navigate this particular transition. So we're going to jump right in today. And I want to start with you, Melia. Like, how would you define this era of your life right now?
I mean, this era of my life, I think I would define as having jumped off the cliff. I've jumped, right? And now I'm just I'm not crashing, but I am definitely free falling in a good way into the opportunities that are available now that I'm not on the cliff that was my safety place, the place that was comfortable for me, the place that was familiar for me, the place that I think had coddled me for far too long. So, while the jump is scary and I don't always know what I'm going to bump into as I'm free falling, it has been a beautiful experience, a beautiful learning experience, growing experience, and a stretching experience. And you know how stretching feels. Yeah. Stretching is good for you, but it doesn't always feel good for you. It doesn't always feel good to you. Mm-hmm. And so I think if I could describe where I am now, I've jumped and I'm learning and I'm being stretched and I'm availing myself of new opportunities along the way.
I feel like I'm in the same place, to be honest. And I love hearing that. And I hear a lot of, we're going to shout out Rochelle, your Be Her Collective partner and one of our thought leaders, because she talks a lot about surrendering and to just be open to what's coming in and just trust and have faith that this is what's meant for you. So Lisa, you've got a lot going on. So how does this show up for you, this era for you?
So if I can kind of build on the analogy of where you guys are, and let me start by saying I feel very, very blessed that this is where I am, but I've jumped off that cliff, I've flown through the air, and I've landed on the most beautiful island with the most beautiful ocean around me, and I am doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing, and I'm just very, very thankful and grateful for that.
That's literally the goal, right? I mean, that's just amazing. I feel like I'm getting closer to that. Yeah. And I feel like I'm stepping into that. I still have a little ways to go, but that's unbelievable. I love that for you.
3 iterations of the jump.
Yeah.
Right? There's I probably jumped maybe most recently. You're sort of in mid-journey. You've landed. Beautiful.
Be said for that confidence in the way you feel when you've stepped into something that just feels like it was meant for you, even though taking that leap is so daunting and so uncertain of what's coming up. So what has been a life transition that really changed you? Because there's definitely several, right? We all go through a few different transitions. Which one stands out as the one that really set you on your path?
Well, there's 2 actually, and they're both are very recent. Most recently, my mom passed away. So, obviously that is something that is a struggle that all of us will deal with. And no matter what your relationship is with your mom, it's hard. You either mourn what you had or you mourn what you didn't have. I do have to shout out to another Daily Drip thought leader, and that's Tiffany Duge, and the article that she just dropped last week about permission to shine. And I said to her when I read her piece, which moved me tremendously, that I had known that I had sort of lost my voice growing up because my mom, who loved me very much and supported me very much, also very much wanted me to make sure I was humble. And so I internalized that as dampening out my voice. So if I did accomplish something, I really shouldn't say much about it, brag about it, any of those things. And so I started to learn that was something that I needed to change. And it really, really became clear after my mom passed away. So that's the most recent and probably most powerful and one that everybody can relate to. But similarly, just over the last year, and this is kind of on the same journey of leaning into my authentic voice, I took on a role as president of Impact the Palm Beaches, and it was the most challenging thing that I've ever done. And that's a whole episode in and of itself. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization, but it is run entirely by volunteers. And I am used to, when my professional career, I started a hedge fund. And what we did at that hedge fund was like rapid fire making decisions, things are happening. Nonprofit work is very different. And there were a lot of things I had to learn, a lot of leadership skills that I had to learn that were very different in terms of where you operate in the nonprofit sector. So it was a wonderful learning experience. I actually called my 5 years with Impact, my Impact PhD program in philanthropy. And I would say last year I was writing my thesis, and there were a lot of late nights and a lot of cups of coffee, but we got through it. And I'm, again, so thrilled to be where I am right now that I know what a valuable experience that was.
I think that's amazing. I think Tiffany's article, hit a lot of us. And to hear how you took something that was, I would argue, traumatic, losing your mom, and to your point, at any time and regardless of the circumstances around it, it is such a significant moment that we all experience. For me, I lost my dad when I was 22, and it definitely set a course for me. And that you have taken something like that and turned it into an opportunity where you are now just stepping into who you truly are and using your voice the way you are, I think is such a beautiful testament to your mom. I think that's a great way to honor her. So, yeah. What about you? What's your most challenging transition, or the one that has, shaped you the most?
It's really just one that I think governs everything else. And that's this belief that I have that we have a pre-earth identity, and not to get super spiritual about it, but I do believe that there was an original thought about all of us before we came to the earth, about who we were to be and the greatness that's in us. We are born with it. But what happens is we get filtered through everybody else's ideas of who we should be and how we are limited, and we start to take ownership of that. And over the course of time, that pure thought about who Romi is, about who Melia is, somehow that gets distorted. And so my life's journey has been to work my way back to that pre-earth identity, where I'm not afraid to exist. I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid to take risks, because I know that I don't lose, I learn, I don't fail, I fly. But I had to sort of go through this process of ridding myself of all of the icky stuff I picked up as I was funneled through everybody else's mess. Yeah. Whether that's, parents or, middle school, just everything that we experience through life. And so that has been my life's journey. that I think at about 40, I came to terms with, that I was actually going to actively do something about, right? How do I get back to that place where I am living the life that I was created to live? That original thought for me. What makes me happy? Who am I to impact? How am I to bring change in the world? How can I live in a way that when I'm gone, that what I've done in the earth would have mattered? And so that took me down this journey of really assessing big things like career. What's important to me? Is it really making a ton of money and driving the fanciest cars, living in the biggest houses? Because everyone else around me, you know, I was a first generation 6-figure earner. Right. So when I, made it, if you will, for my family, that was everything. And so I wore the weight of success for my entire family. Quickly, I realized maybe this isn't what I love to do, but how do you go back and tell a family who sacrificed everything to get you where you are that this isn't my purpose? And they could never pay me enough for me to feel fulfilled or to feel happy, and I'm ready to do something else. So about 40, I got brave enough to realize that I just had to face that, and I just had to be okay with the fact that a lot of people wouldn't understand my decision to leave my global corporate leadership role, sell my house with my family, and downsize to be able to live the life that I know God created for me to live, and be okay with people not being okay with it.
Right. Especially people that you genuinely love and care about, and you care about what they think. I mean, we all do. Even it is not easy to navigate without feeling the support and love of your family members. And I think I don't know anyone who hasn't experienced that, where we're making choices and you can tell that the people you look up to or that you've relied on don't necessarily see the vision you see. It makes you doubt yourself a little bit, but I think like that's where the self-awareness comes in. Like you knew in your core, this was your calling, that this was no longer going to be a life that fulfilled you, and you couldn't continue like that. It's to your point, and I loved what you said, when it comes to other people sort of start to form your path in a certain way, how you see yourself. Like I became the person, like I knew I went through a period where I was at everything. So I moved to Florida, but every birth, every bar mitzvah, every wedding, every, I was on a plane flying up, and this was the role I filled. Romi's at everything. She comes to everything. And I loved showing up for everyone, but it was taking from what I wanted to be doing. Mm-hmm. It was taking away from my life here. And the first time I had to say, I'm not coming to this because I can't, because I have something else that I have to do, I got a lot of pushback, and it made me feel really bad. And my son to this day still remembers a conversation with one of the family members that it made me cry, mm-hmm. because I was so upset that I wasn't showing up the way they'd all learned to count on me. Mm-hmm. But I had to start making choices for myself and for the Daily Drip, for what I was, my calling, mm-hmm. is how it felt.
I think there's something also about maturing, because, something special happened at 40. I felt mortal for the first time probably ever. It's like, okay, at 40, my clock is ticking, and my favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption, and there's yours too, and there's a line in there that I actually live by, and that's get busy living or get busy dying. And at 40, literally, I wrote that out, and I'm like, Andy Dufresne and I are about to get busy living or get busy dying. And I had to recognize that I had to set the appropriate boundaries, but I had to make the choices that were conducive for my life, for me to be living, not existing, because I had been existing until that point. I went through law school, I got through it. I got my first, law job, got through it. I got promoted, I got through it. I got married, I got through it. I had kids, and it's like, these are milestone moments and you love it, but at some point you realize, wait a minute, I'm just existing. When do I start living?
Like you're going through the motions and you're hitting all these milestones. And the reality is, I think that what you start to learn too is like you hit these milestones and it's almost like, okay, now what? Like now that I've done this, and it's not fulfilling the way you thought it would be. The journey to it is probably way more fulfilling, but you hit it and you're like, now I got to move the goalpost, and I don't know where that is, and it's not filling my soul.
It's like having some sort of an addiction, right? Where you just need more and more and more to get the thing that you're looking for. And I think, for example, rampant materialism, where people are just working because they can acquire more things, is an incredibly, first of all, it's not good for the environment, not good for our souls. Yeah. So that's why for me, like you, I chose, and I was 45 when I chose to really completely change my life because I wanted to be of service. I didn't want to just stay on that treadmill, that hamster wheel. And that was a really important shift that I needed to make. So
I think that the common thread between everyone, and I actually will take it even beyond just the three of us, but I find like this is what I find within our community, the tie that binds is that everybody in this community is motivated by impact. And when you listen to their stories or you listen to the path they're on, they're doing something, whether it's in their career, in their community, that is having a positive impact on the world around them. And I think like that it sounds like it's what's motivated all of us to take these leaps. Like it's so worth it. Like there's no dollar value. No. And when I left my corporate job and he was like, what if I said, there's literally nothing you can offer me. Like I'm out. This is like eating my soul. And I don't know if I don't get out now, I don't think there's going to be anything left.
Yeah. And then when you see the other side, right? And there's something I've been talking about lately and you just made me think of it, that, there's the famous scene in When Harry Met Sally, and Sally's in the diner and she's just like this. And everybody said, I want what she's having. And I feel like that's how I'm living and showing up in my life right now, so that people are like, what are you doing that's making you so happy? I want to do that. Guess what? Giving back to the community. It's that simple. You can be this happy and I can help you figure out how to do it. Yeah.
So because you are literally living your purpose now. Like, and I think it's important just for people who are listening. We all took leaps. I think we'll all agree that for the better, because we're living with purpose. But I think it's also important, and it would be remiss of us to not mention, it's not easy. No. Like there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with it. You've experienced it. I've experienced it. It is not easy. So I don't want anyone to leave their job and think there's a whole like rainbow sort of situation on the other side. It is fulfilling for your soul, but it is going to be challenging. It is going to be hard. You are going to have a lot of moments where you're going to be thinking, what the fuck did I do?
Well, that's a self-awareness piece. I mean, and this is very superficial, and don't judge me for this, but this is literally part of the journey. I was Diamond Delta when I left corporate. Now, mind you, that means that I was away from my family, 3 weeks out of a month. But, it was such a status symbol that, I was flying first class around the world, and I had all of this. And I remember after I made the leap, and I had the status for a few months afterwards, but when it was over, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm regular. And that sounds horrible. But listen, but this is what we have to unplug from this matrix. That's right. Yes. Of again, this superficial world that is feeding us all of these things, and it has us on these hamster wheels. Forget about the fact that to get Diamond Delta, I had sacrificed track meets and parent-teacher conferences and, milestones in my children's lives, and, not being able to be as supportive as I would have loved to be for my husband's business because I was exhausted. But I just had to keep up with the title and with the, all of the accoutrements that come with advancing. That had literally become, it was disgusting when I deconstructed it all.
And I think there's a world that exists where you can get to that place, like the financial piece, if you want to say that, and still be pursuing the kind of work that speaks to you. Yeah, the difference, I think that you can find stuff, that.
Right. And the stuff becomes ancillary. It becomes, right. It's just, it's the sprinkle that comes along with you pursuing purpose, but it's not that you're pursuing the stuff. Yeah. Right? And that's the way, it's happening for me now. Great things are happening, but purpose is at the center of it. Right? And that's that self-awareness piece, is when I feel myself starting to, because all days aren't easy in entrepreneurship and business. Some months are low, and then you start to wonder, like, did I make the right decision? Yeah, you did. Yep. You made the right decision, and you keep showing up in purpose. And it just takes the one person that says, wow, like, I'm so glad that I met you. I'm so glad that I had you change. And that's what I live on now, not the status.
And Nicole and I were texting last night, actually, and just about how when I first met her and as we got close and became best friends and we were doing all the things we were doing, and we started the Daily Drip, she would always say to me, she goes, Rome, next year we're going to be living a different life. And here we are 5 years later from when we met. And last night I was saying to her, I'm like, you said it and we're doing it. And she's like, and we were both just saying how we wouldn't change any of it. Like, it has been hard, but the most fulfilling, rewarding, and worth every bit of it. Like, I wouldn't trade any of it. Mm-hmm. But it comes with a lot of sacrifice, to your point. I mean, my daughter looked at me at one point, she's like, I don't know if I'd want to do what you do. She's like, you're always tired and stressed. And I'm like, well, you're part of that problem. Okay? It's not just the work. Yeah. But it does take a lot out of you. And so it's a new kind of shift in terms of trying to, navigate all of that.
And can I speak to that, though, for any woman that might be listening and thinking about, making a shift, a leap, and you have family. And, for me, I always said that I wanted to be a vision of all the things that a woman can do. You can be a mom, you can be a wife, you can be a businesswoman, and you can do all of those things. And, I really live by the mantra that I can have it all. I get to define what it all is. But after I unwound all of those balls and my daughter was older, and I used to say to her, well, I have to travel because this is how we are afforded the life that we live. I'm doing it for you. Well, after I got out of it and we had a conversation after she was older, she said to me, I would have much rather have had you at the track meet. Mm-hmm. I thank you for the sacrifices that you made, but I didn't need that. I just needed my mommy. Mm-hmm. And so I just want any woman listening to check in with yourself first and with those whom you think that you're making decisions on behalf of, because they may want the same thing that you want for you. They are going to be better when you're living in purpose. They're going to be better when you're not chasing stuff and you're showing up rested and present. Yeah. Because even when I was there, I was emailing and working. So, sometimes we think that we're doing something and we're proving a positive and we're not having the impact that we think that we're having. In fact, it could be the opposite.
I actually have that conversation a lot because, my journey's been a little bit different, and I actually did not pursue career during my early years. I worked, but it was never the focus. It was just my kids. And I share that message more so from the standpoint is that here I am at 40 plus years old. That's all anyone's getting. And, as moving on.
I'm the oldest one in the room.
But here I am, and I can build a career at this stage of my life. I can't go back and re-raise my kids. Like that is gone. I can't get that back, but I can. So for the women out there who think they have to do it all right now, like, pace yourself. And I was raised by a mom that worked full time. So it's not that I don't think it's possible, but the way they managed it to be like, I give my mom so much credit for this. Like, I only remember her being at everything. I also remember her sitting in bed at 11, still working. Yeah. Because she left work to come and watch volleyball, or she left work. And my dad, they shared that. So, I talk with Nicole a lot about this because she's, she's in the younger stages of that, and you cannot get that back.
No. So I have to share something, and it really isn't it's going to sound a little bit dramatic, but honestly, I'll share it now. So yes, I worked full time. I worked hard. I had started a business, and my husband actually stayed home with our son. So I was actually pretty fortunate to go to most of his things. I was unable because the market crashed, and I couldn't go to his baseball game, and it was the one game he hit a home run. Oh. And it was heartbreaking to me. But the part that's honestly, I find it a little bit amusing is today my son is 30, just turned 30 years old, and he is working in wealth management, and he is in Palm Beach Gardens, which is wonderful because he's close, but I often will invite him to some of the events that I'm doing, and I just got a text from him the other day, sorry, I can't be at such and such event, and I'm like, I think I just got cats cradled. But I get it. I know he's, tax season is the busiest time of year for him. He is just flat out for the next 6 weeks. So I understand it. And I know we know we love each other, so it's okay. But I was like, that cat's cradle thing is real.
Yeah. And I think it's just, I think there's ways. I say this as well. It's the quality of the time you're spending. It's not about how much time. It's just how are you showing up when you do show up. Mm-hmm. So like if you're home, like putting all of that away. So what do you think was the biggest lesson or the thing you learned about yourself that really stands out having gone through the transitions? And I'll start with you because this is really pivotal for you. The way you talk about the passing of your mom and how that's launched you into this sort of new era of you.
Right.
Microphone and all, sharing your voice. But like, how has that, like, what have you learned about yourself?
So much. And I love how you talked about getting back to your childlike almost, or even pre-birth, right? But I think there's also something very powerful if we can go back and look at our childhood. And something that has been amazing in my life recently as well is that when I go back and I look at my 57 years, I'll own it, 57, it all makes sense. I've found things because my mom passed, I have been going through a lot of old papers and files and things. I found something I wrote when I was 8 years old. I was apparently playing Lisa LaFrance Esquire, as all 8-year-old girls do. Oh. You probably did. And I was writing out somebody's last will and testament and how they were going to donate their $1 million, which in the 70s was a lot of money, and how they were going to donate it to the local hospital and to take care of family and all these things. So that's just one example. I actually have quite a few, but everything makes sense for me right now, and that is really a powerful place to be.
Oh my God, that's the goal. Like that's the success. Yeah. That's what we're all hoping for, right? It's to feel like good in your own skin and feel like this is it. Like this is where I feel whole. Mm-hmm. I'm doing
it. 57. You guys are going to be there. You'll probably get there before I did, if you're not already there.
I hope. I hope because we're having conversations like this, which is, what wasn't happening before. We were just left to try to figure it out. And, these candid conversations, for whatever reason, amongst women, not enough of them were happening. But I think that these conversations will help women, be sober about their lives and what they really want and how they're going after it and making those decisions. So
what was your lessons? The thing you learned, I guess, the most about yourself, or what have you uncovered?
The thing I learned the most about myself is to trust myself. I think there was a lot of my decisions because of how I grew up. And again, that being the promise child, if you will. And if my sister's successful, I don't want it to give the impression I'm the only person who is risen to some level of success in my family. It's certainly not true. But, there was a lot of pressure in the decisions that were made for me and that I made, going to go to law school and to do those things. And a lot of them were fear-based. I feared poverty. I feared not being able to provide a quality life for my children. And so I fear failure. Yeah. I feared, what if law school doesn't work out? And so you approach everything with this gut-wrenching fear that the bottom is going to fall out. And I know that's not the same for everyone, but I'm speaking to the woman who understands that maybe didn't have the most perfect upbringing or, examples of, strong people that have gone before you in business or even in career or collegiately to look to say, okay, I can understand how this works out. No, I was doing a lot of things for the first time and terrified the entire way, of whether or not the decisions that I was making were right and going to work out. And again, it was at about 40 that I realized that you didn't get here by luck. At some point, you can stop thinking that the sky opened up and luck fell out, and this is where, no, you got here because you're talented. You got here because you're capable. You got here because you're intelligent. You got here because you're strong. You got here because even the hard things that you had to live through, even as a child, somehow prepared you and gave you the strength and fortitude to be able to stand up against adversity. So that you can trust that now. Stop fearing it. Trust it. Trust that when you make this next leap, those same strengths are going to show up. Trust that the same sound decision making that got you here, you still have it. Doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. Doesn't mean every day's going to be a good day. Right. But at the end of the day, I trust that my future is sure, that I can bet on myself, that I know I'm able to do it, even when I don't get it right all the time, that it will work out. And so I'm living from that place of trusting me, the God in me first, let me say that, but what he's created in me to be able to show up as me, fully me, like it, love it, hate it. Not the version of me that you need to feel good about me, but fully me, and that it's good. I can trust it.
That to me, like, that just hit me like in my core, to be honest. It's the trusting yourself. Like, it is very hard, especially when you care about so many people, and we're all subject to that. And to go against that because you know in your gut what is calling to you, what it's speaking to you, and to trust that. I think for me, having Nicole by my side has really helped me build the trust in myself. Like, I think she's been the right voice. But it has definitely, and especially over the last, I would say the last year, has really shown up for me. Is that God calling?
Oh my goodness.
But I think that's really what it is. And I think there's something to be said for the fact that I don't think any of us would look back at our lives and think we'd made mistakes as much as each transition, each chapter, each era has helped get us to where we feel like most authentically ourselves. And while it's still a work in progress, I feel like keep going, keep trying, keep doing. My biggest take would be to trust yourself, trust your gut.
Other side is amazing.
It's amazing. It's a challenge to get there. So this was a phenomenal conversation. I'm so grateful to both of you for being here today. And thanks to our audience for listening, and hope you come back to listen to another episode of Her Pursuit.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Her Pursuit.
You can listen to new episodes every other Wednesday on Spotify or watch us on YouTube. Stay in the loop on all our virtual and in-person events, read our latest articles, and catch new episodes by subscribing to our free weekly newsletter.
Check out the episode notes for more details, and we'll see you here on our next episode of Her Pursuit.